Well, good evening, guys. I'm not going to lie, I'm still pretty much in shock after the Bahrain Grand Prix, and namely that first lap with Romain Grosjean's crash this afternoon. He has just posted an update from hospital stating that he is okay. I mean, his hands and fingers are all individually strapped up for obvious reasons. He suffered burns to the back of his hands and I guess all of his fingers. Not surprising, really, as he climbed out of that absolute inferno that ensued from his accident. So yeah, I just wanted to post a few views on what was one of the most shocking things I've seen in Grand Prix racing. Certainly in my adult later life, I grew up. I did see Senna's accident in 1994, but I was just a child back then. But yeah, this is the most incredibly serious accident I've seen in Grand Prix racing. It looked like something from the 60s or 70s. You get used to fires like that from a time that I thought had completely gone by. So yeah, I think the first thing to say is, yeah, modern F1 cars aren't meant to catch fire like that. That wasn't catching fire, that was exploding, and it's not surprising. Car split in half after it hit the Armco barrier head on as well. So I think they said it was over 50G. Just absolutely insane. The car split in half. The monocoque went through the barrier, and Romain Grosjean, I think the car ended up on its side. Unbelievably, Romain Grosjean was able to get himself out of the car, completely engulfed in flames. They say he was in the car for about 18 seconds, and when you watch back what was live, the real-time footage from the car coming to rest to the medical cart turning up, the flames of the inferno, the amount of time before Romain Grosjean was able to take his belts off and climb through the halo and across the barrier, it might just be 18 seconds, but that must have felt like an hour. It's just to be in that environment. I don't know if he blacked out for any part of that accident, and that maybe delayed him getting out, or whether it was just struggling to undo the belts or get through the hole. But he's certainly a very, very lucky boy to be able to have actually got himself out of the car, because it didn't look like there wouldn't have been anyone that could have actually extracted him from the car until all the flames were completely out, and that didn't happen for a fair chunk of time after he was actually away from the scene. So that is the first miracle, that he was actually able to do that. I think we need to discuss the fact that the Armco barrier split. Again, that's the sort of thing that killed a lot of drivers in the 60s and 70s, actually piercing Armco barriers. And obviously they were in much more open cockpit cars back then, a world away from what they are now. So drivers were literally sliced, completely chopped in half sometimes. Sorry, that's a graphic way of putting it, but it's true. And you wouldn't expect a modern Armco barrier to be able to be pierced. Now, nothing is indestructible. F1 cars carry a lot of energy, a lot of speed, so they are shaped like a bit of a missile. That's the whole point of their aerodynamic profile. But you still wouldn't expect, I suppose it was just the angle of attack in this accident. It was more or less head on. The barrier was at an angle. Romain Grosjean was heading away from the track at 45 degrees. So it was a head on accident, and it's as if that the force was just far too great for that barrier to be able to bounce the car away from it. And in this case, it actually snapped it in half, with Roman's car carrying on through the barrier and stopping instantly. So the actual stopping force is just insane in this one as well. So they're going to have to look at the Armco barriers and whether they can re-angle the barriers or use different materials, whether they use Tech Pro along straights, something they might have to look at. But it just shows an F1 car can kind of make it anywhere on a circuit if the circumstances fall that way. So a quick note about the bravery of the two medical car guys. The medical car is always behind the pack on the first lap. It'll always be falling further and further away, so if the accident happens within the first couple of corners, as this did, then it's that's just a spot of luck that the medical car was there within the first few seconds once Grosjean's car had caught fire. But the two guys jumped out and rushed straight to the scene. Now they're in, I don't know how many layers of overalls. They are in the outer layer that you'd see a driver in. But they have the open face crash helmets, and so no actual face protection, and they headed straight towards the Inferno to see what they could do. And if you look at some of the replays, you can actually see, I can't remember which one it was, but he's getting as close as he can to the fire. He's almost like trying to protect his face from the flames and the heat, as he's kind of got his other arm out to grab Romain Grosjean's hand as he jumps over the barrier, and then obviously support him as he carries him away. So just incredible bravery. They helped get the fire extinguisher on, one of the main fire extinguishers that was on pointed at the cockpit as well. So they have very, very quiet weekends usually, and that's obviously a good thing. But they were absolutely on the money when needed today. I think Romain Grosjean can count himself lucky that they were there, and just it's just I've watched the footage so many times, and it's more shocking the more you watch it, but the more you kind of want to understand how the hell did he not get sliced by the barrier. Like the halo obviously did its job, and I think we can completely stop talking about whether the halo is a good or a bad thing now, because I think that could be the biggest contributing factor that saved Romain Grosjean's life. If you hit something head on, go through a metal barrier without any injury to your torso or whatever, then I think it's fair to say that did the job today. More and more shocking the more you watch it, but it's just because it's just such a miracle that he came away with such few injuries. You just want to kind of understand how that was even possible. And one thing I keep thinking is, he was in that car for 18 seconds, and I want to know, did he black out for a few seconds and then wake up and trigger the belts, or was he struggling with the belts? He could, there's other connections like radio, their drinks bottle, but usually they could just be pulled straight out. I really when the dust settles, look forward to what the FIA can uncover from this accident and see what we can learn. Now, just to wrap it up, I had a text from another racing driver, friend, and he said, never skimp on Nomex, and that doesn't matter whether you're an F1 driver, club level racing driver, or even you could even look at it from a track day point of view. Fire doesn't know if you're in an F1 car or something less powerful. Once something is on fire, it is completely unpredictable, and Nomex is no doubt what saved Romain Grosjean's life as well, because he was absolutely in the thick of it, and it looks like it was about 18 seconds. So never skimp on your Nomex if you are heading to the racetrack, because you never know. You never know whether you're going to catch on fire. So again, glad Romain Grosjean's okay. Look forward to hearing his story. That's what he said at the end of his little short video on Twitter. And thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll be really curious to hear what you think about the accident today and how it affected you and when you were watching it. So thank you for watching.